a story mode really helps. I don't want to sound harsh, but I've been kind of disappointed at some of the other karting games out there in terms of what they offer for that single player experience.
Gavin, congrats on the announcement. Super Yooka-Laylee Kart, looking amazing. How are you feeling right now?
Oh, stressed as ever, excited. It's always like a mixture of excitement and nerves whenever you do an announce. And you're giving people that first peek at just the information so far. So
right.
I always struggle with, do you tell people absolutely everything straight away from minute one, or do you hold some stuff back? And we're holding plenty of stuff back on this one, but we're hoping what's there and been revealed so far is certainly whetting people's appetites.
I mean, I think it definitely has been. The moment I saw the initial artwork and then the trailer, I'm like, this looks awesome. Especially because it's not entirely what I was expecting. People have been hoping for a Yooka-Laylee Kart game forever now, and to see it in this form, I think is awesome. And it's a little bit different than I think maybe some than the typical kart racer, I would say. So I guess for you, what was your guys' angle when you first started making this game? Like, what is it that you guys wanted to accomplish with the Yooka-Laylee Kart game, and what is it that this game is bringing that's unique compared to the others out there? For those who can't tell immediately from the trailer.
Yeah, so I mean, artwork-wise, we wanted something really distinctive and never been kind of done before. And a few of us, we grew up on like when the karting genre was invented, in the era of Mode 7, and we loved that kind of faux parallax going and sprites. There's just something amazing about sprites games. We've got some super talented artists there, as you know, and it's we were just thinking, like, how can we present this game so it's got its own energy, it's got its own vibe, and we looked into many different ways, and we thought, what, we're quite fans of things like Square HD 2D games where you mix modern post-processing, lighting, VFX as well, but with classic sprite-based elements as well. So we thought, well, no one's done that in karting. We really like the end results, the test results as well that we're seeing. So we thought, let's go out and do that. And then when it came to the game, the mechanics itself, there's a lot of big karting game fans. I actually set up Playtonic initially, expecting the first game we ever did to be a karting game. And Grant
Wow.
Kirkhope convinced me to go, no, you've got to go down the 3D platformer route first, Gavin, like, Banjo's spiritual successor. And I was like, okay, yeah. Grant knows his stuff, so I'll go with that. And then finally, like 10 years later, we're able to start doing some of the karting stuff. And I think over the years we've had very strong opinions on what's happening in the genre, what's not happening in the genre. And we've always thought, hey, we could do something really unique and cool. We want to kind of shake up the karting genre in a similar way that Smash Brothers shook up 2D fighting, and I think there was like some great 2D fighters, right? And you had Street Fighter, and then Mortal Kombat came in with finishers, and Killer Instinct came in with big combo systems and stuff like that. But then Smash Brothers, literally smashed up the genre and brought its own flavors. And we're thinking, well, what aren't you doing in karting games? What kind of things would you like to do? I'd like to do more high skill maneuvers and moves mid race. I want to be able to pick up items and use them in a variety of different ways, not just launch and fire and forget, but every item we've got has got a forwards, neutral and rear launch use. And it doesn't necessarily always map to just firing forwards and backwards. Some of the different items will be fired off in different modes, depending on how you do that. I want to be able to have a bit more control over throwing items, for example. So is there a way I can throw, and is there a way I can throw further, and things like that? Can we introduce way more skill elements? Can you jump onto zippers, risk jumping over them, but if you land it correctly, you actually get a better boost than other racers? So we're super competitive with each other, and we're just always thinking, like, how can we one up each other amongst all this? And another big thing was, like, and I'm sure I speak to a lot of people here, those moments in a karting game where within the space of 10 seconds or so, you can go from first to last and you just get hit. And we've always wanted to introduce this kind of like revenge and rage mechanic.
Yes.
We've always thought this would just be awesome. And we come up with a few phrases around it, like revenge fueled racing, and every setback fuels your comeback. So we expect to put some awesome moves in there that, if you're getting the wrong end of the stick and things just aren't going your way a little bit too much, you're going to tip into an overload. You're going to be able to trigger this rage comeback, and that'd be really quite playful. We're keeping that card a little bit closer to our chest in terms of how it plays out right now, but it's going to be a big important feature for the game.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'll be honest, like that was one of the most hyped moments I saw in the trailer. But like, it teases you, like the trailer's over, then it's like, oh, there's one more thing. It's the revenge mechanic, and I always love whenever games have some kind of thing like that. Not quite like as you're showing, it seems, but I always like when there's I always like those comeback mechanics. The year seems like a unique take on it. So I'm really excited to see how that plays out.
Yeah. This is for everyone who ever got absolutely ripped on a racing game. And we've all had those moments. We've all suffered them, and you just want to launch the controller across the room. Well, instead, we've just got something at your fingertips that'll ease the pain.
But speaking back to skill-based mechanics, it looks like there's 2 or 3 levels of boost. How does that work in Super Yooka-Laylee Kart?
Yeah, so we've got a really kind of what I think is a high energy drift boosting system. So as you'd expect in a karting game, people want to be able to drift, show off, drive with style, and receive boosts off the back of that. We're going to be having a small boost, a longer boost, and then there's going to be a third tier of boost, which isn't in the demo just yet. But that boost will enable you to then cut corners and go over some of the rough areas of the track with no penalty as well. So rather than have 3 tiers of speed, we always looked at it in other games and just thought, 3 tiers of speed. It kind of just comes down to how long was the corner and how long were you winding around it. And there's some ways you can kind of like get it to trigger a little bit earlier than other players, which gives you an advantage. But when we thought of it, we wanted our 3rd tier boost to offer something really new, not just another level of speed boost. We were like, no, this is, if you can get this one out, then you're really finding your own racing lines around the track, cutting corners and getting the edge on people in a much more satisfying way.
Yeah, no, it seems like the trailer really kind of leans into that more skill-based expression too, if I'm recalling it correctly, or like, really. I mean, I guess was that an intent for the game to make it? Mario Kart is famously, it has luck as a heavy influence. So even if you're like, getting destroyed, you can always come back. Of course, there's a revenge mechanic here that can help in a similar manner, seemingly. But what about the rest of the gameplay? Is it, is it very much like driven to like, hey, you got to figure out these courses, like the best way through them, or you may have some trouble out there? Yeah,
the courses themselves, they're like super tight, twisty. You have to really pay attention all the time. Like when we watch each other playing, if you're just looking down at someone's hands, not looking at the screen, you'll see you are constantly on the controls, constantly correcting, rejudging, doing something, activating a certain move, triggering items all the time. There's no let up. Like, this is going to be the best thumb workout people can ever going to get. I reckon you'll get abs from playing this game for too long. You're using that many calories just down on the controller. It's very high energy. The courses you really do have to just pay attention constantly. There's no let up. We have courses of different sizes and scales, of course, but all our courses are flat to get that kind of Mode 7 feel. We love the fact that you can still see all the time the race going on in every direction. And it's one of the things that when myself and a few others, whenever we do go karting in real life, being able to just turn and look across the track and you can see everything playing out still, and you can kind of feel incentivized to go ahead, and you can see what's happening to other players in view quite often. So we wanted our courses to go back to that real tight twisting. You can't just be focused on your item that you're holding without thinking too much about the course or what's going on. You have to be on top of everything all the time. It is really satisfying. It's stressful, but it's so satisfying when you're getting every single corner. You've got your item ready to fire in one of the ways that you want to release it, and you're managing other things that are happening to you and all the threats occurring. I can't wait for people to play it. And I don't think there was any point in us trying to just do a modern 3D karting game in our own skin. I just don't think there's any point to doing that. I think fans deserve better. If they want something, I want Playtonic to stand for we're trying to do something more distinctive and different, and spot ways in which we can inject new life into genres and experiences. And I think this game, when people see more of it and get to put it in their own hands, they'll see exactly why I'm confident we're doing that.
That's a great point. I mean, your game immediately stands out visually and gameplay as well, of course. And I think, going this route helps avoid the default Mario Kart comparisons, even if, of course, there's the original Mario Karts as, that started the genre. But the modern ones, of course, look very different to those. So it's nice to see something that's a more kind of like classic take on the idea, as opposed to, knockoff, Mario Kart knockoff number 3001, right? Which it feels like there's so many of them out there now. So I guess though, did you guys decide in this direction immediately, or did you flirt with the idea of doing like a full-on 3D polygonal version, or did you arrive at this idea pretty quickly early on?
Yeah, first and foremost, like the mechanics drove everything. We really liked all the ways in which we were thinking we could do things differently with the mechanics, and when we looked into the possible opportunities, like we've got like models and plenty of stock reference already within the games we've already created, and they, we could have gone down that route and just gone down 3D and polygonal, but I think we just heavily fell in love quickly when we explored this art style and the energy that you can get from sprites, and there's so many inspiring sprite games out there as well. We love things like what Yacht Club do, for example. Way Forward, they do some great stuff as well. There was a game announced quite a few years ago now, but one we've still got our eye on, I'm personally hyped for, called The Last Night, which was kind of a retro cyberpunk flashback style 2D game, and they just look really gorgeous. And I think you can kind of leave with sprites. I love that you can't do everything. You have to leave a little bit to the imagination. And I used to love that growing up playing games and seeing like characters in Secret of Mana, and you just got a few little tear sprites, and in your head you're like, oh, they're bawling their eyes out right now. I can just imagine the pain on their face. But all you had to work with was a little bit. And I love the fact that the less you kind of show, the more you invite the player in as well to fill in some gaps with stuff. So no, when it comes to the artwork, expect something high energy, flashy VFX and stuff, but overlaid with this art style. And again, I just think it's very distinctive looking, and we're very proud of it.
Oh yeah, it stands out immediately. Like, I mean, it immediately sells you on what the game actually is, and I love that about it. So just to clarify, are they like proper full-on sprites, or are there like any filters going on to make polygonal objects look sprite-like, or?
Yeah, it's the latter actually.
Okay.
I'm the least tech-savvy person in the world. I'm the guy who just gets to look at stuff and go, hey, that good, do more. And,
yeah, it does look good.
In stupid caveman English. But no, we looked at different ways of trying to achieve the effect. We thought about going down fully animated sprite sheets as well.
Right.
But no, we found a way of doing it this particular way, and it's kind of cool because we have this like quite fine control over the pixelization and the resolution as well. So that has actually inadvertently, as a bonus, found its way into the game in various forms. So like the game's heavily customizable. If you want to create your own races and chill and hang out with friends, you can create some like really strange stuff and races that just don't feel like anything else out there. And one of them is playing with shrunken racers, and that just inadvertently we didn't realize was de-resing the pixel effect as they got shrunk. And we're like, wow, we kind of love this. And so we're now thinking of even more ways of leveraging the fact that we're using this technology to manifest in other ways in the game as well, whether it's you're being hit and we might de-res you down or something, and before resing you back up and stuff like that. We're looking into all sorts of ways of leveraging it, but it's a really cool piece of tech. Yeah, it takes our 3D models, makes them sprite based, and we've got lots of control over that. So
that's awesome.
Speaking of like the shrunken mode, are there any other modifiers that you're a fan of, or like how many can we expect here? Because that's a really neat way to mix up the game.
So we've kind of put a load of grayed out options, alluding to some that are in the future in the demo. There's way more, not even revealed yet. We've got a few tasters to put in, but making everyone play. There's some like low hanging fruit, like what weapons are available and making every plays the same character and stuff like that. But we're trying to we've got another phrase we call player created chaos, and we just want people to be able to build all sorts of weird stuff. We're trying to see if as well, we're investigating if there's a way where we'll be able to kind of create profiles of races that you can share online with others. And we might even have like a race of the day where everyone can come in and there's just this loads of weird preset stuff. But I'm a big fan of going first person, shrunken, and it's like F-Zero. And putting on insane speed and putting on high bouncy collisions. So as soon as you hit each other, you're like slam into the other side of the track. All of a sudden, it's like survival horror of karting, but it's got the feel of like I said, it's got the feel of like F-Zero done in cartoony worlds. But we do other things as well, like invisible racers, turning things off. And yeah, I don't want to say too much because there's way more to be revealed. And there'll be real fine-tuned controls over how much you can tweak things which are a little bit more analog in value, let's say. So we're hoping to see what players do, and I think it's just about giving people freedom to hang out with their friends online and say, you know what, you could play for an hour and you could just constantly keep mixing and messing around and mashing things up, and you'd never get the same race twice.
Well, that sounds amazing. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Now, can you tell us a little bit more about the weapon system, and is there any control that the player has over that as well, whether it's what items are appearing or what exactly they do, and how exactly does the item system work? Is it like Mario Kart where you pick up an item from a box at a time, or something else?
Yes, so item acquisition, as we call it, again it's kind of been stuck in a rut, and I guess we've got some people who worked on Diddy racing in the past, and that had its own item system in terms of leveling up an item. We didn't want to go down that route. I think random is a good feature. It allows for that chaos in that. I love games which are adaptive and strategic and make you think on the spot and how best to use stuff. But when it comes to item acquisition, we wanted to do something our own way. We did want to invest in that. So we have like driving over pages gets you a weapon, and what we're going to have is that pagey initially becomes heated up. Anyone driving over that pagey straight after you in its heated up state gets a slightly better set of random odds on their items, right? So you have to be careful. If you're the race leader, you think, do I take this bit wide and go out there to get pages that I don't think people will follow me over, or do I go for this like row in the middle, and you're only going to get one item, but you're making like 3 pages right on the core racing line heat up. And if a page gets overheated as well, it goes into a kind of a chaos mode, and if after it's been heated up so many times, you'll see it fizzing with energy, and you're like, it becomes really risky. Then if you go over it, you could have a chance of it just blowing up and in your own face, or getting something super cool straight away. But we're thinking of other things as well. We can do like, is there a way to have like little mini games to play? So you might get a lucky roulette. You might go over an item, and if it turns out you got the lucky roulette chance, then it'll just cycle slowly through the items and get faster and faster as it comes towards the great items. But you've got to be quick, because if you don't choose an item in time, it'll just disappear and vanish. So if you get a lucky roulette, you get to choose what item, no matter what place in the race you are. But it's riskier to hold out, and it takes longer to reach those items. Like usually you want your item quick and straight away and immediately, right? But it's balanced in terms of I've got to wait. Hopefully it can get up to that really, really cool item I'm holding out for, but it might go past it before you have a chance to react.
That sounds awesome. That sounds like a totally unique system that I don't think I've ever thought of. So for the whole item mechanic of it, like leveling up and people like grab it after you, and that's really interesting. Yeah. So did it take some playtesting to figure that out, or did you guys just have that idea from day one?
There's a ton of ideas, right? Mm-hmm. You've got to think, well, which ones work, which ones add, and many ideas add, but maybe don't align as well. Right. So you can have some really crazy stuff, and you think, that sounds cool. In effect, does it create an unbalanced game? Does it work with the rage system? Does it work with all the other things going on? So we just kind of pick the ideas we're hoping come together and gel together best. But this is why we're going to be doing open play testing, which is a first for us, really. We're really excited to be making a game so openly and with direct feedback with people moving forward. So yeah, this is all to come out in the wash, and I hope people help us balance these features and get them right and tell us which bits they're loving, which bits they're not loving. But I think it's a good example of how we've approached everything in this game. We've thought, if there's anything in our game which feels like there's an equivalent in another karting game, we've got to one-up it. We've got to find something cooler, way more fun, do something different than what it's doing. Otherwise, we just don't think we're doing the Playtonic brand justice.
Right. Yeah, well, that's super exciting. I'm loving hearing all of that. So, out of curiosity, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people have been, I think, hoping for a Yooka racer for a long time. I think it's something about the characters, they just want to see them in karts. And I noticed, I think I actually I forget if I asked you during a prior interview, but I think I did, where I know that in the credits of Yooka-Laylee, you can see, well, I think it was Laylee in a cart, and I'm like, is this teasing anything? And you didn't tell us anything at all, of course. But how long has this idea, how long has this game been in development for, and how long have you been kicking the idea around, at least?
So it started off with a really small team just over a year ago, and whilst the bulk of us were finishing off Laylee, so they were doing a lot of the investigation work and figuring out the tools we'd need to be able to build and do it at scale. But I think on our minds, it's just been something we've been wanting to do for ages. Honestly, we've been sat on some of these ideas for ages, hoping that another karting game doesn't come out and start doing them as well. And we're like, no, we've missed the boat. And
right.
So now we've announced that hopefully there's some other developers all over the world go, no, Playtonic are doing it. No, back to the drawing board. Let's do something different.
That's great.
I know a big focus is online and stuff. You mentioned Diddy Kong Racing. You've mentioned doing things differently, but is there going to be a story mode too in this game? And what might we expect from that?
Yeah, I think a story mode really helps. I don't want to sound harsh, but I've been kind of disappointed at some of the other karting games out there in terms of what they offer for that single player experience. I've always long thought that a game full of its own way of doing things, new mechanics, new skills to learn as well, the story mode goes hand in hand with being able to teach and to help players get good at the game, and understand all the fine nuance between different ways of using items. And karting games, they're so full of tons of content that making challenges that you can, I want someone to be able to dive into a story mode and feel like it's helping them get better at the game, but it's really fun and engaging. You never know what's coming up next. It's a bit like a pick and mix and a surprise. Diddy Kong Racing was really novel at the time. I mean, I wasn't working at Rare when it came out, and I remember picking up and playing it and thinking, wow, this is cool. But when I look back in hindsight, when we discussed it, we kind of saw it as a very expensive level select system, in terms of you were meeting a threshold of collectibles, and then you just played a GP anyway. But in other games, you kind of just it breaks everything apart. It's a different way of breaking everything apart, but ultimately you were just going in and doing a GP again. Whereas in our game, you could be coming across challenges which are full GPs, multi-race GPs, single races, one-on-one rival races, just skill uses of items and challenges, and some really off-field, oddball kind of bonus stuff as well to be doing. We can go crazy with that kind of thing. So I think when it comes to the story mode, there's going to be a lot of variety there and a lot of high energy and fun and unpredictability. And I think with our characters and with toying now with we've seen, there's the game got leaked a bit and we've seen what people are saying a bit early as well, but we're now saying, hey, if people love the characters, we could have a bit of preamble dialogue back and forth and really inject some humor and character into the proceedings and the context of much of this as well. So yeah, watch this space. We can't wait to reveal more.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, you obviously can't talk too much about it, but it is, just to clarify, it will have a story in the story mode. It won't just be a series of challenges. It'll have an actual narrative that drives you through it.
Yeah, that's the plan right now.
Okay. Awesome.
In
Great.
DLC Pack 4.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, given the state of gaming. Well, that's awesome. I was a huge fan of Diddy Kong Racing. Love the story mode, even though now they're breaking it down for me. Like, yeah, it really was just like an elaborate menu. But, you know.
Yeah, I don't want to be harsh on it because it was really novel, really fun to drive around the environment and feel like a sense of adventure was driving
Right.
proceedings and bosses and silver coin challenges. I absolutely loved it at the time. And again, we didn't really just want to retread the old ground. We wanted to think, well, what can a story mode provide? And it seemed like way more variety of content and this nice way to learn how to get good, because the game will be full of lots of skill mechanics as well. And you know, we can't wait until some hardcore gamers have played the game for 1,000 hours and gone and done the game facts guide or the YouTube, walkthrough videos and all that kind of stuff. So we kind of want to make sure that we're also providing some route into players getting good, feeling tooled up, ready to go online and take on the rest of the world.
That's great. Well, speaking of actually going online, you mentioned, I believe this is your first online game, and that from everything I've read in researching how online games work, it sounds like it can be a nightmare at times. So I'm curious, can you tell us a little bit more about that, how that process has been for you? And also, when it comes to the nuts and bolts of it, will it be purely like private room based, like you create a room, your friends join, or will there be like a matchmaking type thing for it as well?
Yeah, so the online experience will be both, really. We know people just want to go online, hang out with their friends, and they might want to race seriously, they might want to just race crazy, and just have their whatever their brand of fun is. So yeah, there's loads of player created chaos, we're calling it, and letting them do that. Or you can go online. Again, we've been trying to think, I've always wanted to do this. I love joining an online game, and kind of when you do great, that's fine, and when you do great, it's kind of like temporary, forgotten, move on from it. So again, we haven't really specifically said, and I don't want to specifically commit to doing this just yet, but I like the idea of going in and you're in a constant 3 rolling race GP, for example, and you're just everyone is just always trying to play for that top spot, and the results of the last 3 races are what count, and then you play the 4th race, and whatever happened 3 races ago is forgotten about, and that leaderboard carries on from there. And we think it's kind of an inclusive way that everyone always feels invested in being able to go and try and get that top spot and get a crown out of doing that. And one bad result, one blip in the road doesn't scupper the whole session or the whole GP. It's just a temporary blip in the road. So the way, again, wow, I'm moving into something else we're doing. So the way it works, it'll kind of favor and balance out that players will be able to get stronger over a series of races as well. Because we want people to join race online, and we don't want anyone quitting because they're not having a good time. We always want to feel that people are invested in the outcome of the next race constantly. We're going to let players acquire coins during a race. That's going to bump your top speed up as expected, but you get to keep your coins post race.
Wow.
And in between races, that's where you can spend coins on perks for the next race as well. So it's a little bit of balance there as well. Do you go for like loads of coins in one race with an eye on just tooling up on the next race? But then you might lower your top speed as well if you overspend as well. So how much you spend on stuff as well. So we really want to inject that kind of longer multi-race strategy and way of thinking for the players. So they can, if you really want to go for that top spot, there'll be different ways of going and achieving it.
That's awesome. I've always felt like, when I play Mario Kart, I'm like, man, I wish I could spend these coins on something, like that would be way more meaningful. So just to double check or clarify then, it sounds like the coins also give you a speed boost in the races. So if you're spending them, your top speed is going to go down. Am I understanding that correctly? Or
yeah, so you're not spending them mid-race. So
right.
come at the end of each race, you'll be then presented, every player gets presented with the same set of options, and it's up to you to decide, do I want to buy some tires that negate the effect of the rough, or do I want to buy something which boosts how long boosts last? Things like that. Do I want to minimize one of the negative attributes of the character I've chosen, or maximize one of the positive attributes of the character I've chosen as well? So there'll be multiple ways to start over time, improving your character. Some of these will be temporary as well, so you can't just play for 10 hours and then just abort everything and keep going.
Right.
So they'll probably only last for that race, and then you go into the next race, and it helps when you're in a race as well, that you really care about going for that coin, extra coin. That's, becoming rich, and you can even use the coins as weapons in the game. If you get the coin item pickup, you can just throw the coin forwards and hit the player in front. You hit them, they'll spin out, but they get a coin. So it's kind of balanced. It's a bittersweet attack. Yeah,
that's amazing. The coin is my most hated item in Mario Kart. I love Mario Kart, by the way, but it's the most hated item.
And I think this is why a lot of ideas have come naturally to us. We're playing a lot of these games, and we're just saying the same things as what everyone else is playing and thinking. And we go, well, let's do something about it, And instead of 2 coins as well, like I want it so you get 2 coins and you can throw them independently. So you might be like, I'll bank 1 for me and one for that idiot in front of me who's been plaguing me. Right, take that. Go out the way. But you feel good about it. But I even then want to go, right, can we put a story mode mission in where it's all about giving coin?
That's a good one.
Yeah, and you have to play as Trouser or something, and he's like, oh, this is his worst nightmare. This is his nightmare, and we should just make the whole background look like it's a nightmare. And he's like giving coins away, and he's having the worst day of his life.
That's awesome.
Well, speaking of trousers and characters, like coins will change your kind of stats. Will each character have wildly different stats, or are they kind of the same?
No. So they have their own different archetypes in terms of weight, acceleration, handling, top speed, things like that. We were so close. We were umming and ahhing of going down the route of, do people sometimes feel like I've got affinity for this character, but they're not my racing style.
Right.
So I have to play as someone I don't like, or do I, suffer the characteristics for a character I actually visually enjoy, and I love. I've got this thing about octopuses with human heads, so I want to play as that character. We were thinking of just saying, look, select your character, and then after that you'll go to a menu where you can then set and spend some attribute points and set them up how you want. But then we thought it started to mess with some of the other systems in the game. And then the perk system as well, this where you can be spending coin in between races. We thought, there's scope for that as well to be occurring already. So it's one of the ideas that didn't make it, but you can be sure that there's some returning cast of characters. Vendy definitely has to come back. A vending machine driving a cart is just ridiculous. She's a heavy character, not so good at steering, which is, can you blame her? She's not really got anything to control the steering wheel with. There'll be 1 or 2 new characters as well. One of them's got a great pun name.
I was going to ask.
I can't give it away. Honestly, I'd love to say it right now, but no, all will be revealed in due course. Like I say, it's just a small sampler that people are finding out about right now. But I can't wait to just blab and reveal tons more stuff as soon as I can.
Yeah, we'll be ready to hear all that blabbing whenever you're ready. So
you'll be the first to know. I'll give you a pre-warning. I'll send it.
I appreciate that. Speaking of characters, obviously I know you can't announce everything or talk about everything, but I was reminded of how Yooka-Laylee and Laylee had the cameo from Shovel Knight. So have you guys considered having cameo characters at all? Is that something you've explored, or is that something we shouldn't get our hopes up for?
It is as a concept and ideas, we've thought about it heavily, a lot, and we're going to be reaching out, sending begging letters to tons of cooler devs than us, basically saying, look, we need some of your kudos and characters, please, would you consider it? But again, I'd love to do it. I think we've got some great Playtonic Friends titles as well with partner devs, so there's scope for us to say to those guys as well, hey, how about this? And whether we can do course themes as well as just the characters and items as well. That'd be kind of interesting and kind of bleed some mechanics over from their universe into our universe. I loved, do you remember when they added Link and Hyrule to Mario Kart and you were collecting rupees instead of coins? Little things like that. I love those touches, and I think they're genius. So yeah, it's been on our minds, and I'm hopeful that we can do some stuff in the future. And if you are an IP holder listening now, saying how come Gavin hasn't been in touch? We haven't been in touch with anyone yet. We've literally just been doing this year, so no one's excluded. We'll be knocking on all these doors very soon, I hope.
I'm just gonna say, as a Diddy Kong Racing fan, I always Pipsy was my main, and now that you guys are already seemingly close to the Yacht Club games, Mina the Hollow War is out, also a mouse. It seems like maybe this is the time to make that happen.
How good is Mina the Hollow War? Honestly, it's incredible, right? No, that'd be fantastic. But yeah, I don't want to put anyone under pressure and do name checking, because they're like, oh wow, Gavin is now got Andre in his corner as well, and Thomas there. I could knock Gavin away, but all three of them, no way. That's a force not to be reckoned with. So I don't want to do too many name checking. I don't want to put anyone under any undue pressure, but we would love to do tons of stuff with as many people as possible.
All right, that sounds exciting. Tom, did you have something?
Yeah, well, talking about adding cameos, or like you're gonna have different betas. Once this game comes out, do you think it'll be like that's it, or do you think it might still evolve over time, or like more bonus, like more Grand Prix or characters?
Oh, I'd love it to keep growing over time. Yeah, and, fingers crossed it's successful. We think it's got all the ingredients to be a good breakout success. We think it's doing so much new for the genre and reinvigorating the genre. And as much as I love the other games that are out there, we're doing cross-network online play is on our roadmap. We're doing rollback code as well, so it's really, really, that online experience will be super tight. We want it to be super competitive and really responsive as well. It's like the fighting game of karting games is our online, like, golden experience target. So yeah, and we'd love it to grow over time and snowball into being able to do all sorts of different things, and we won't stop until we're on a Happy Meal kind of aspiration.
I love it. Getting back to the entire idea of the game, of course it's a yooka-laylee based racer, so like spin-off. Was there any consideration to just making its own entire IP, or did you always want to make it based on the yooka-laylee universe?
And you know what? This was a really early on. We were like, what do we do? It's not a pun. Is Yuka the right vehicle for this karting game? There was a lot of natural fit for items, abilities, and being able to do lots of stuff. Across the weapon set and stuff. But also, you sometimes think, is the Yuka IP, is it going to be holding it back in any way? But I think we've got to be proud of like the character in the universe we've created. I know they're not everyone's cup of tea, but hopefully, if they're not your cup of tea, but you do love karting games, you give this a go and you see how different it is. We can convert some people. But again, I think it speaks to that potential to be over time, add more to it. And if players wanted to set up a race, and there's all the customization options you've been able to build and improve on and include over time, means you can basically build a game which, other than the name, isn't nothing really to do with Yooka-Laylee. You could be racing who knows what, who knows where, using anything your imagination can take. Over time, I think we've always got the opportunity to go in that direction with success. So we'll see. But I think I hope we've come to the right decision making it a Yooka-Laylee game. We were so close to calling it Yooka-Laylee as well.
Oh, that would be very good too. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think for discoverability, like it might not
SEO,
quite so good. Yeah. So, and I guess the word, the name Super Yooka-Laylee Kart kind of grounds it in a sort of era, but it's kind of like the birth of karting. And we're thinking of it as like the rebirth of karting, so it's a little nod to that in the name. We hope people love it, and it does get the chance to grow and grow.
Yeah, well, let me reassure you, I think you guys made the right decision. I think people already identify with these characters. They want to play as them in a kart game, so I think you're on the right path here.
I hope so. Like I say, Vendi, finally, she's controllable.
Yeah.
Things like that. And yeah, and there's thinking of like how would Dr. Quack race around, you know, Kartos. Do we have to put Kartos in a cart, or should Kartos just be like? I always like the idea and the fun joke of like, if Kartos was going to be in the game, he'd basically just have to kidnap a human to make it look like he's being driven. And this human is just like ragdolling inside Kartos, but Kartos is like really driving the action. And he's just like, yeah, sorry, no solo vehicles allowed. And he's like, okay, that's all right. I've got this person driving.
That is genius. Whatever ends up happening here, he's not confirmed for the game yet, right? I don't think, or is he?
Not confirmed.
Okay,
but he's certainly got potential, hasn't he?
All right, I'll look forward to that then. Speaking of the roster right now that we do know about, do you have a personal favorite that you like to race as?
Oh, it's a character we've not announced yet, and it's a new character to the IP. So I've got quite an affinity for them. No, I guess other than that, I do like Dr. Quack. I've just always found Dr. Quack funny. Not because I voiced Dr. Quack, it's just, Dr. Quack. I'm going to go Dr. Quack, but you know, there's you won't believe how many, like, Steve Mayo's the character artist went crazy, and like you won't believe how many characters have been primed, ready to be added to the roster should they be called upon. I'm pretty sure there'll be something for everyone in there.
Speaking of online earlier, it's great to hear about rollback netcode, but also there's 8 players on one TV. How insane is that?
Yeah, and we don't know if we're like bitten off more than we can chew, because obviously we're going to have to think about other platforms. If we are doing cross-platform, how many players on one machine can be networked against each other? The kind of real-world problem of some consoles actually don't really let you connect up to 8 controllers either, and some it's quite easy. So we've got to figure that out and balance it out. But one thing we do love is lots of people around a single machine, on squeeze up together on a couch, having absolute crazy fun together, and that in-world energy, in real life energy. So we've tried to push it as much as possible. I'm sure there'll be some performance considerations for us to think about. I don't know if we'll have all the the simulated physics particle effects turned on to max across 8 player, but what matters most is that people are having a good time, and we're giving them a platform to do that. So I think that 8 player could be fun, even if there's only ourselves using it in the office. It creates those arguments and chaotic moments in the office, which are good. So it's already been worth the investment.
Well, speaking of arguments, which item is going to annoy my opponents the most? Which one should I focus in on to annoy my friends?
I don't know, like the item wise. Again, I don't want to say and give away too much, because I guess what we're showing first is a little bit more of the conventional, even though we're letting you buy them differently. I love like firing a speed boost. So our speed boosts, the ones you find on the track are actually also in item boxes. So they're pre-laid on the track sometimes. And we've got this thing where you can go over them and get a boost, great. You can hop onto them to get a better boost. So if you want, you grab a speed boost. If you just use it, you're only getting the standard boost. But if you fire it forwards ahead of yourself, you're giving yourself a chance to land on it and then get a better boost off it for a better shortcut or something. But you can also hit someone unexpectedly, all of a sudden boosting, and they're just not prepared for it, and it's just chaos, and they're just like smacking straight into the wall or going off into the water or something. So there's moments like that, and I think it's like, again, it's like a really fun example of how we've took something known and twisted it and made it a bit more chaotic. Or you can place it facing backwards. Someone will try and go over it, and they're just going backwards. They're like, no, that didn't work. So yeah, how you want to use a zipper, and it's just, again, I think it's really fun. A zipper can become usable in 3 different ways. and we'll yeah. And after you use it as well, it stays on track for a little bit as well. So people behind you, you're giving them the chance to use it with finesse and hop onto it and get better boost than what you used it for as well. So we've got a nice balance mechanic side to it as well.
That's genius. That sounds awesome. So how did you guys come up with all these item ideas? Like, did you guys just like, write down the whole list and then figure out which ones are actually feasible or which ones you want to see most in the game? Are there any items you explored that just wouldn't work or weren't fun to incorporate?
So, some of them are, they sound great, and then in actuality, you're like, this is just too bonkers, or it unbalances the game, or it upsets things. And then some things you were like, actually, this is really cool, and it'll look like a spectacle. But that's when we move it over into maybe that should be the rage mechanic, or one of the rage mechanics, and maneuvers as well. So again, we've got to be very careful with rage, that it just doesn't become a game just about who can get angriest fastest and then just unleash this brilliant. It negates weapons even being in the game. Everything's got to fit and work with each other. So yeah, there'll be things at different scales. You can expect the rage moves to be quite at the larger end of the scale of the chaos. But yeah, there's loads of ideas. As usual, I think Playtonic's blessed with hugely creative staff members that think outside the box and wonder what can be done and don't like hearing no, it can't be done. So they like to push themselves.
Right. Is there anything else about the game that we haven't asked you about that you think deserves more attention? Or, I mean, obviously the game hasn't been officially announced at the time we're recording this video, but is there anything you want people to dial in on that we haven't had a chance to touch on yet?
Wow, that's a great question. I've got to put my marketing head on, look at my marketing materials, because they'll be going, hey, did you name check this and do this and think about this? No, I think we've kind of covered most of it. I think it's a real complete package. It's a game that people will be able to pick up and play and get into quite easy, but it's going to be layered with a lot of mastery and depth. Like, if ever there was a chance we accidentally made an esport, this game would be it. I'm a huge fan of, like, I don't know if you've ever seen some of the top Super Mario Kart players in the world and how they go and achieve some of those times. I'm just like, wow, some of the things happening. So we're wanting to layer in a ton of depth and mastery into the game, and we're hoping for many years, like if 30 years later people are still finding ways to chip off some seconds in time trial mode, that'd be amazing. And we could be very proud of ourselves if we do that.
Yeah, that would be. Tom, did you have any other questions?
I guess just one question I was curious in is, who is composing the music?
So in-house composers are right now. But I'm hoping if Grant and Dave Weiss see this, we could negotiate some friends rates, mates rates, and get them to come back in. So right now the game's focused around some of the areas and levels seen across the first two games. And it's interesting because Impossible Lair opens up a whole new realm of biomes to go and explore as well. And so some of their tunes inadvertently will be in. But we'd love to do some brand new, never been seen before environments as well. So it'll be a mixture. We're so blessed when it comes to composers that, we have people like Grant and Dave, and we have Dan Murdoch in-house now, and Matt Griffin, who've scored Impossible Lair along with those two composers. Again, it's like artists. I don't think we could do a bad sounding or bad looking game if we tried. They're just naturally so good, so nice to work with. So and hopefully the soundtrack can become its own thing we can release as well. And it's interesting because they've really been thinking about how to take the tracks that people nice, but they have kind of a vibe for 3D platforming, and to inject a racing kind of energy into them, they've had to be creative with which elements of the track that they can leverage and utilize and punctuate to get that more of a racing feel out of them. So thanks. Yeah. They'll love you for asking as well. They'll be really pleased. Someone said, "Yay! Someone cares about the soundtrack and music."
Of course, it's huge part.
I'm I'm annoyed
It
with
is.
myself. I didn't think to answer or to ask that. Huge fan of the composers you guys have worked with.
I'm in the doghouse now because I forgot to bring it up earlier. I've been talking about everything else, haven't I? And I've kind of not brought them up naturally myself. I'm going to be in trouble.
We'll edit this to be at the beginning of the interview. How about that? So,
Brilliant. First of all, the soundtrack is what you're most proud of. Yes.
nailed it. I had one other question I was going to ask. It escapes me, but I was curious. I don't think we touched on it earlier, but power sliding is of course a big thing in kart racing games in general. How does it work here? Is there like a boost mechanic associated with it, or is it more like classic Super Mario Kart where you're using it for tighter corners, if it's even there at all? I assume it is, but
Yeah, I mean the short answer is we have modern boost techniques. The more complex answer was we as we were building the game, we kind of gave it to some people, and you see some people, they kind of play with muscle memory from elsewhere within the genre, right?
Right.
And you don't want to disappoint them. You don't want them to feel alien, this game to feel alien. So there has to be some kind of crossover where people can play and start drifting and hold a drift and make the drift shallower or make the drift tighter as well. So we have that all accounted for, and we realized that, yeah, you can't do it. It'd be like playing a first-person shooter and feeling like all the controls have been rematched. So do you remember going back to GoldenEye and all of a sudden left analog stick is not strafe and move forwards and backwards. It's rotate, it's turn, right, and move forwards and backwards. So yeah, we made sure that people can feel like they can pick it up and play straight away and feel quite good about themselves and good at the game as well. And then we're just trying to find a little bit more nuance and a little bit slight difference in the way we're doing things around that. So you can do some insane drifts. You can, it's really interesting because you watch each other play and you'll see people and go, wow, I just don't do that there. I treat that as 3 different corners, and some other people are like, no, I've got this down to one long corner first, then a quick correction. And someone will go, no, I do a quick correction first, then one long corner. And it's really cool seeing people try and do it different ways. And we know when we get all the perks in the game as well, that then that'll add even more ways for people to change and decide their own racing line and way of taking, getting the fastest laps and things like that. So yeah, I really can't wait for the game to be finished. Basically, we have got a lot of work ahead of us, a lot of stuff to do and a lot of stuff to implement. But when it does come out, hopefully people love it and they can see what I'm talking about actually manifested and came to pass.
Yeah, well, we can't wait either. We're both super excited for it. I'm sure everyone here is. And yeah, I've been a long-time kart racing fan. Love what you guys are doing over at Playtonic, and I can't wait for the final games. I gotta play it at this point.
Cool. Yeah, sign up for that beta to help us make the game better. I want to, I can't wait to test myself against one of the best in the industry. Karting games.
Oh, that sounds great. Well, we're unfortunately out of time here, Gavin. Thank you so much for chatting with us about Super Yooka-Laylee Kart. I got that right? Is that yeah? Okay, good. I really appreciate it. Is there any final words you want to share with our audience before we close out here?
No, just thank you. Thanks for having us. It's always a pleasure to talk to you as well. Really enjoy it. I think players, no matter when we announce something, I think there's always a part of the fan base which is like, oh, but I kind of hoping you were doing this and doing that. Don't worry, there's multiple things happening, some surprising, some I think what people are asking for, we're pretty confident we're going to deliver on that in future as well. So a bit of everything, but right now we're talking about Super Yooka-Laylee Kart, and we hope everyone gives it a chance and picks it up and has a go and enjoys it.
All right, I think they will. I'm excited to try it again, as I said. So again, Gavin, thank you so much for taking time to chat with us. It's been an absolute blast, and can't wait to play it myself. So
that's cool. Thanks for having me. Loved it.
Thanks.